So let me start with the caveat. I'm going to answer some of the questions which people have asked. So please understand this, and I've said this very many times. We are generic advisors, right? Specific questions which you are asking can be answered only by your financial advisor, because that question is applicable to you, not applicable to the whole world. So here is one question. For a long duration fund like Nivesh Lakshya of Nippon, assuming that I hold the investment for 15 years, should we select a growth plan over a dividend plan, or does it not make a difference? How will it not make a difference? Why don't you? This is again a question which is very generic, therefore I'm taking it up. I'm not naming the person, and the question is, it is always sensible to take a growth plan and decide when to withdraw. Now suppose you take a dividend plan and the fund manager decides to declare X amount as dividend, and 40,000 rupees is lying in your savings bank account received as dividend. What will you do with it? Nothing. You don't even know why it is lying there. So always, almost always take unless I'm not talking of corporate, I'm not talking of trusts, I'm talking of retail individual investors, always take a growth plan, and after 3 years in case of debt fund, start doing a systematic withdrawal plan. Yes, part of the money coming back is your principal, but if you think you're going to get 12% return in that fund, or rather let's say 7% return in that fund, then withdrawing 4% or 5% will not hurt you at all. The annual growth will be very likely more than cover your withdrawal. So how much you want to withdraw, etc., is your call, but yes, almost always taking a growth plan makes sense. Now having said this, if you have a specific requirement which is very different, then you have to ask that to your financial advisor. I have no clue what specifically why you are asking this question. Generically, if I have to say, for 99% of the people watching this, a growth plan is better than a dividend plan. Sir, I have a basic doubt and I hope you can help me. Is investing in a gilt fund as good as investing in a bond directly? Actually, I have done videos saying why investing in a bond is different from investing in a bond fund. You need to search for it, or you need to search on Google and read about it. It's very difficult to explain that here, but you have maturity risks in bonds, you have mark-to-market losses happening in bond funds. So yes, there are pluses and there are minuses. In a bond, you will get interest which is taxable. In a bond fund, you can go for a growth scheme and decide when and how much of tax to pay. Okay, he says a fund will have most of its debt holdings existing and only new money will be getting invested at current high rates of interest. Correct, very interesting, but realize that there is something called mark to market, and therefore this should not really matter too much. In fact, averaging the overall return will be difficult. So why should I not put into bonds rather than bond funds? Good question, but bonds will create interest income on which you will pay higher tax. Bond funds will create capital gains on which you will pay lesser tax. As you mentioned, investing in funds like HDFC long duration fund. HDFC is a long duration fund with a 2055 maturity, and Nippon has a fund which is at a lesser cost, which is a Nivesh Lakshya, which is at I think is lesser cost and earlier maturity. I think 2045 is Nivesh Lakshya and 2055 is HDFC. 30-40 years maturity of GOI bond for anyone between 45 to 60. What if there is no interest rate risk, only inflationary risk? What is this no interest rate risk? Of course there is interest rate risk. Today you are putting your money and let's say you are getting 7.25%. What happens if interest rate go to 14%? I mean, I'm just asking a theoretical question. Of course there is interest rate risk, of course there is inflationary risk. Why lose money to mutual funds expense ratio? Wow, that's a brilliant question. Why lose money to expense ratio? You don't even know whether there is inflation risk or whether there is interest rate risk in a bond fund, and you don't want to pay expense ratio. Be my guest, please buy whatever you want, but understand your own limitations first. You have such limitations, you're much better off in a mutual fund than trying to do something on your own. You can't. In fact, this person, whatever his or her name is, should not be allowed anywhere near the markets with his own money. Sorry, but I'm roasting you, but please understand that if you do not know the risk, there is inflation, there is interest rate risk, you need an advisor very badly. I would honestly recommend running to an advisor. So somebody has replied also, GY bonds and target maturity plans have interest rate due to longer duration, they have more risk, more volatility. True. If anyone holds till maturity, then the interest rate risk is mitigated. Partially, yes. The depreciation in the portfolio is saved. GY bonds give interest which is taxable. In MF, you can use long-term capital gain with indexation. True. And choice is whether you need income or whether you need growth. Well, reasonably true, but it's always better to have LTCG and SWP rather than dividend income. I've said this even earlier, so that is absolutely true. You're right. So somebody says you never talk about senior citizen savings scheme. I have spoken in the past about senior citizen savings scheme. For many people, I know it's pretty irrelevant. I mean, if you have a big portfolio, it's irrelevant. If your portfolio up to 2 crores, yes, it's relevant. And now they have increased the limit, and there is, I mean, if you are a senior citizen who needs current interest income, then it makes sense. But if you are a senior citizen with lot of income and you want to convert your income from interest to capital gain, then it makes no sense. So for my mother, she has got enough dividend income that she pays nice amounts of income tax on her dividend income. SCSS makes no sense. So yes, not for everybody will it make sense. For some people it makes sense, not for everybody, right? So kind may on new pension scheme versus old scheme. I'm not making on NPS. I made enough on NPS, and there are enough YouTube videos on NPS. So I'm not making any more videos on NPS. What exactly is a target maturity plan? Exactly the kind of question which you should be asking on Google, and you will find the answer. Is it open-ended? Yes, it's an open-ended debt fund for the same duration. Yes, it could be open-ended, but mostly you have to treat it like a close-ended fund. People go cold turkey while moving money from FD into debt funds. Yes, thank God for them. I'm getting better returns on my bond funds rather than in my bank fixed deposit in the bank. So that's good for me. Can you make a product on structured product derivatives? Not really. I mean, maybe there is a market of people who want to watch it, but no, I am very unlikely to make that. Many people have complained that Retire Rich and my book with Pattu and my doctor's book is not available on Amazon and Flipkart. I'm sorry to say, but the truth is my publisher CNBC is no longer interested in publishing. So the publishing interest lies with me. It is for me to have it published again through another person. I mean, I have to choose who that publisher should be. CNBC is gone out of the publishing business, so you will not find my books on the shelves. If you don't find the books on my shelf, it is just bad management. I'm sure some books are lying somewhere, and some could be in very bad shape because they've been shipped from Bombay to Patna, Patna to Calcutta, Calcutta to Chennai. You know, they've gone their rounds and they're in bad shape. It's not available, so it's completely the fault lies with me. I have to rewrite the book. I have to add some more chapters to it, or perhaps reduce some chapters from it, and republish it with a different publisher. CNBC, TV18, which was the publisher of the book originally, if you've seen, we carried its logo. They are no longer interested in publishing. So it's a pretty mess right now, and the only person who can set it right is me, and I'm just being lazy about it, nothing else. Thanks. I have a question on position sizing. What if I zeroed in on a share to accumulate on its way down, and I reach my allocated capital already and don't want to invest more? Now that share has gone down further 25%, in such cases what should I do? Should I wait or average it further, or is it that I've accumulated it too fast? Portfolio sizing is both an art and a science. So each person has to do for himself or herself. So everything can work, and you should have your clear time frame. That, for example, if you are accumulating some small company today, or small company in the sense a loss making company today, and you think it's going to be profitable in 2, 3, 5 years, and it fully achieve its potential in 10 years, so you're taking a 10-year view on that company. There are 2 companies on which I've taken a 10-year view, on which I do an SIP, not on a regular basis, but whenever I think the results are announced are bad, or something like that happens, I buy more. But otherwise I buy 50-60 shares every month, and I know that I will accumulate an X amount of shares in over a 10-year period, and I'm going to judge this company only over a 10-year period, not looking at its ROCE, RONW now, because I'm waiting for them to busily build up their portfolio and market share, right? So my portfolio sizing can be very different from your portfolio sizing. So I do think YouTube channel should be used for increasing your knowledge rather than learning completely afresh. So portfolio sizing is not something which is very easy. Read up, see what works for you, and then do it. Thank you. I'm running out of questions.